Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk. This is your host, Dan DeWitt, coming back at you another successful week for the Tar Heels, following, of course, the big Duke win. Now the Tar Heels, their last homestand before the Duke game. We got these two games. Now we go on the road for two games, and we're back home for Duke to finish out the regular season. And two more W's for the Tar Heels. Now on, let's see, how many games have we got in a row here? 4-game winning streak after the Virginia loss. And yeah, Tar Heels looking good. Still some room for improvement, but definitely hitting their stride. So Tar Heels, yeah, looking good as we get close to March. And of course, with that March Madness and everything that comes along with that. So yeah, good week to be a Tar Heel, of course. Not that there's a bad one, but we're going to jump in and talk about the Florida State win, the Syracuse win, and then we'll look ahead to the last regular season road games for the Tar Heels. And then next week, of course, we'll preview that Duke game. So I'm glad that you've joined me and are listening, watching, however you're taking in the podcast. And just thank you for your support, first of all, but also just ask that if you haven't subscribed to wherever you listen or get the podcast at, and spread it to other Tar Heel fans that you know. So let's unite Tar Heel Nation, as we say here on the podcast. So other than that, let's jump into the games. First, Florida State game. This is the game I was at. Nobody hit me up to meet there, so I don't know what that says, I guess, but maybe you just weren't there. But big time win for the Tar Heels. We talked about possible letdown after the Duke game. They did not let that happen. Came out strong and consistent against Florida State. Shot 43% for the game, 35% from the three. Nas Little broke out, monster slam, monster putback, co-leader of the game in scoring at 18. Added 8 rebounds, block, a steal. Just really aggressive and good game from Nasir. Cam Johnson was right there with him, actually with a double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds for Cam. Luke May, 15 and 11 as well. Let's see, Kobe White, 10 points, struggled a little bit shooting, 4 for 13, 0 for 5 from 3. And he had been struggling. Obviously, the Duke game did not play well. Florida State here struggled a little bit, but we'll get to the Syracuse game where he broke out, but still stayed in double figures with 10 points there. Kenny added 6, Garrison added 4. And then really the issue beyond Nasir off the bench with his 18 was just Brandon Robinson with 3, and then Caleb Ellis in garbage minutes. Blue Steel hit a 3 there. So really only 3 points off the bench besides Nasir's 18, which obviously Nasir, that's big to have 18 points off the bench from him in his 23 minutes, but you'd like to see some more scattered scoring there, whether Seventh gets a layup or so. I don't know. Besides Nasir, Seventh, Brandon, we didn't really play anybody off the bench. So I guess, 2 out of 3 guys had points. But Seventh did play pretty solid, 12 minutes off the bench. Not a lot of stats to go with it, a couple of steals, but and Brandon Robinson only 9 minutes actually off the bench. So of course, the increase in Nasir, the injuries to Manley, Leaky out, another guy that would get minutes there. But Tar Heels come away 77-59 victory over the Seminoles. Rebounding was huge with their length and athleticism. We out rebounded them 47-32, 13 offensive rebounds, only 10 turnovers. Did only have 11 assists, which is a little down for this team. They're a pretty good passing team, and just have 11 assists is kind of low for them, but kept the turnovers down. As far as game flow, we're pretty solid. We were pretty consistent. They made one run in there, but we had answers every time. And see if I can – I don't know if there was a lot of lead changes. Our biggest lead got up to 19. There was 3 really early in the first half, the first 4 minutes or so. 28 points in the paint, or I guess those are shots in the paint, not necessarily points in the paint. I guess maybe it is 28 points in the paint for us to their 12. Points off offensive rebound, second chance points 15 for us. Fast break points just 7-2 in our favor. And then, bench points was pretty even. Our 24, again, 3 of those were garbage. And then it was just Brandon Robinson's 3 and then this year's 18 to their 33 points off the bench. Their point guard did go out injured in the middle of the second half or so. It helped us, except that their replacement for him, David Nichols, had 4 threes off the bench. Actually led them in points, 16, and actually only 2 guys for them in the double figures. So they had pretty even scoring, but obviously didn't score enough. 16, 10 for Terrence Mann, and then they had 8, couple of 6. So we did a pretty good job defensively on them, which we had been doing better of. Obviously playing defense and taking people out of what they want to do and limiting them to one shot, of course, with that rebounding. Syracuse then was another story, though, as we move into last night's game. First half offense or defensively, we were just not good, horrible. Probably one of our worst halves defensively. Luckily, offensively, we were going pretty strong. I want to say we were actually down 3 at half. 46-43 at halftime. And the only thing keeping us in the game was free throws. They were called for quite a few fouls. I don't know that I can do it by half, but fouls overall, they were called for 26 fouls. I mean, they played 5-8 guys, and I guess even 2 starters only had 2 fouls, but everybody else had 3 or 5. But yeah, and again, some of it, we get on the officials for not calling stuff our way, but some of theirs was pretty ticky-tack, and but we were being aggressive, and that's usually how basketball goes. The aggressive team gets calls, and we shot 37 free throws. The good part is we made 34 of those 35, 92% as a team from the free throw line. Otherwise, we shot 40% from the field, 31% from the three-point line. Not that they were much better, 48% from the field for them, 45% from 3. And again, they got out strong. They got into a little bit of a lead there, and it didn't look like it was going to start well for us. And then we kind of just hung around, and then fouls took their toll. They got frustrated because of the foul calls, the way the game was getting called. And I think that's when we just kind of took over. Ended up with a 93-85 win. Good win for us. Again, protecting our home court. It clinched us doing, at worst now, 3rd in the ACC this season because we beat Syracuse here. Nobody will catch us for 3rd. Obviously, we could still win the ACC or end up in 2nd, but 3rd is the worst that we can do. Only 9 turnovers again for us in this game, so that was good. And then, like I was saying, assists-wise, we had 19 this game, so much better in that aspect. Rebounding, 46-25, 18 offensive rebounds for us, which is always big for us. And again, second chance points, 16, I guess, only for us to their 13. So it didn't do us a huge advantage. We had 18 offensive rebounds to their 8, but ended up not being that big of a margin there. 11 was our largest lead. 9 was theirs, again, early for them. They got off hot and hit a couple of threes. Kenny Williams did a pretty darn good job on Tyus Battle. Still ended up with 29 points, got hot late. I think they said that he only had about 4 in the first half or something. Again, I think Kenny was getting a little bit tired chasing him around, but good effort there. Kobe was on him a couple of possessions, did well. I know we tried Nas on him. But again, much better defensively second half. Some of that, I think, was because of their frustration, because of the fouls and such. And probably they just had to back off a little bit because of all the fouls that were being called. But really the story of this game for us, Kobe White going off, especially second half. I want to say he had 9 at halftime. Went on a quick 8-0 run himself in the well, not to start, but early in the second half. Ended up with 34 points, and the best part is he was really efficient doing it. 9 of 14 shooting, 6 of 11 from 3, and 10 for 10 from the free throw line. First free throw in North Carolina history to get 30-plus points 3 times in a season, in his freshman season. And there's a whole bunch more that went with that. Nobody, I don't know if there's no freshman or no North Carolina player had been 10 for 10 from the free throw line since Tyler Hansborough. Just did have 4 turnovers to just his 3 assists. But again, he's playing 33 minutes. He's going fast. He's being aggressive. You're going to get some of that. So Again, I think we're okay with that. Not right behind him, but behind him, I guess two other guys in double figures. Cam Johnson had 16.7 rebounds, and then Nas had 11.6 rebounds. Again, block, steal, a couple other things in there. 7 for 8 from the free throw line as well. Of course, everybody was good from the free throw line. Nas was 7 for 8. Cam was 6 for 7. Luke was 5 for 6. Those are the only guys that missed a free throw. But Luke actually ended up only in single digits, 9 points, ended up 12 rebounds, and a career high 6 assists for Luke. So, again, getting more attention. He was finding Kobe. He was finding Cam. He was finding guys. So that was good to see. Garrison Brooks, 8 points. Actually, only played 19 minutes, fouled out in this game, was in some foul trouble. 8 points, just 2 rebounds. Of course, we want his rebounds to be higher, but solid minutes anyway from him. Kenny, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Nice line for him there. And then again, off the bench, we had Nas with 11. We had Brandon with 5 and Sevens with 2. And really, those guys didn't play as much. 7 minutes. Brandon, 8 minutes. Playtech, 2 minutes. So we're really playing, 6 guys heavy minutes, and then just filling a couple, 5 to 9 minutes with a couple other guys. We'll see if that changes, or if it changes when Leaky gets back. I don't know that we can expect Manley to do much at this point. The way once he comes back, just the way he struggled with being in shape, and now he's been out so long. If he has sore knees, again, how much he can take, and it wasn't impressive early this season. He was getting it. It seemed like last year at the end of the season. This year, it just seemed like he kind of regressed back. And then now missing all this time. If he even comes back this season, we'll see what he can do. But I don't think we can really count on getting much out of Manley this year. Rest him up and hopefully use him next year, along obviously Garrison and Baycott coming in, and any other guys we get coming in. But like I said, nice 93-85 win at home against Syracuse. And then now if we turn our attention into what's coming ahead, we have a little bit of a break here. We played Tuesday night. Now we go till Saturday. We go to Clemson. This is a 6 p.m. Eastern tip on ESPN. Clemson has been kind of down this year. I don't have the standings for ACC. I know obviously we're in the top 3, but I don't know exactly where Clemson is. But still a good team, and it being at their place. It's a game we should win, but again, we got to come out and take care of business. We'll see. We can't get fat and happy at this point in the season. I think with our veterans, I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, a place that we have to take care of business. We remember the comeback with Hansborough and Ellington, with Ellington hitting the game winner there at Clemson. We've had some good matchups there with them. So. Let's go in there on Saturday, take care of business. It's at least not a noon tip, 6 p.m. Eastern tip. So it'll be on ESPN, so we can watch that, of course. So that's good. And then a week from yesterday, next Tuesday, March 5th, will be our last road game of the home season. We go to Boston College. That's an 8 p.m. Eastern tip in Massachusetts. This is Raycom so it'll be our last Raycom game of the season. We just had our last Raycom home game last night. They were making a big deal of that. Now we got this next Tuesday. Hopefully I get it on TV. Last night I had to stream, and ESPN app is way behind live, and it's not how I like to watch games. So hopefully I can find that one on TV and actually watch it in real time. But again, this is a team we should be. Boston College is not good this year, but just a place, again, it's on the road. It's ACC team. We got to go and take care of business, and we can't just take it easy on them. We can't just show up and expect to win. So should be another good week for the Tar Heels heading into that final matchup with Duke. But we also don't want to let down before that Duke game. So let's keep it rolling. Hopefully we're on a 6-game winning streak next time we talk here with the Duke game coming in. Quick look around college basketball. Some big news not on the court. Will Wade, LSU's coach, and Sean Miller, Arizona's coach, were both informed that they will be given a subpoena for the next trial, as far as the FBI trial and stuff comes up. So that is pretty interesting. Of course, Sean Miller was asked about it in a news conference or press conference, and was very blatant about how he had no comment at this point. But we'll see where that goes, but that's kind of interesting take and movement and as far as that goes. On the court, Duke again lost last night to Virginia Tech. Zion, of course, did not play, so we'll put an asterisk by that win for Virginia Tech, but it still happened. Let's see here, Tennessee, we hadn't talked about it, but they'd lost to Kentucky and then lost to LSU. Kind of a bad finish to that Tennessee LSU game, but it happened, and they've lost a couple now. So now we got Gonzaga back at the top. Virginia's right behind them. Virginia, nobody's talking about them, but the only team they've lost to is Duke. They could go through the whole season and only lose to Duke if they, won the national championship or something. They could actually lose to Duke again in the ACC tournament, and then they may not see Duke in the NCAA tournament, go win the whole thing, and the only team they'd lose to is Duke. I don't see that happening, but it would be kind of interesting. Behind, let's see, we got Gonzaga, we got Virginia. I think Duke is still number 3. And then we got Kentucky 4, and we are 5 in this. And so we actually have 3 ACC teams in the top 5. Let's see, what else around college basketball? Oh, I can't think of anything else. There's some big games coming up here on Saturday when we play Clemson. Hopefully we'll get some good games that we can watch. Hopefully our Clemson one's not good. Not that we won't watch it, but that's coming up. And then before we leave here, of course, as always, we'll go through the questions, comment, and we got quite a few of them here. Carl, regular commenter, so thanks, Carl. He says, I always knew we were much better than our record. We lose to Virginia due to Cam and Nas injuries, and we lose to Michigan on the road early in the season. We also had a couple of fluke losses. Yeah, it is interesting. You think back to late December, early January, and I'll be in that group too, is the way we were talking about this team was not very positive and not very hopeful. And that, of course, is now turned. Some of that, of course, the production of Kobe White as he's come along. Nas Little has stepped up, which we said, if that happens, obviously we're going to look better. But even other guys, I think, stepping into their roles. I know I had mentioned it earlier in the season of, do guys know their roles really? But Garrison Brooks playing his role really well. 7th last couple of games, playing really well. So, yeah, obviously Michigan was a bad game. Texas wasn't a team that I thought we should lose to. Who else did we have in there? And Michigan was a bad one. Kentucky, I really wasn't scared of them. I'm still not real scared of them. I know PJ Washington's playing really well, but I just feel like we could beat them. And, we didn't play well against them in Chicago. But yeah, Virginia, I think it was a game like you said, if Nas and Cam don't get hurt, I think we could have won that game or should have won that game. So, we'll see here. We'll see what happens, obviously, with the Duke matchup and going to the ACC tournament. But Terrence Murray, again, another regular commenter, says, go Heels. I think this team has finally found its way. Crazy thing. We still can get better. Yes, I agree with that completely. If Kenny can find his stroke, look out. People who may be Final Four net cutting. Carl says, I still feel probably the best team in the country. One of them, for sure. Terrence then says, Carl, I agree, because we have multiple people who can beat you any night. And I don't know if that makes us the most talented, maybe the most complete, and probably the hardest to scout and get ready for is, like Terrence here says, it goes on to say, we're not dependent on one person. We just play tough and hit the open 3. When it presents itself, we'll be fine. And again, a lot of that comes down to our defense. Syracuse first half, we didn't look real great. We stuck with them in our offense, but then once our defense kind of kicked in, we took control of that game. And I think that's the story as we go forward. If our defense is there, we can, we have so many guys that can score and go off that it's hard for the defense to lock in on one guy. But our defense has to be there for us to win those big games. Bryson Webster says, I would say we are one of them. Definitely pretty tough to pick a definitive best team in the country, for sure. Bimmer Guy is back this week. Thank you. He says, this is the best record we've had in a couple of years. We're looking really tough. Our defense and turnovers have improved a lot. That's the big difference. Got to keep it up, for sure. Quasimodo says, made it a live session for the first time ever, and welcome for that, Quasi. And says, Clemson scares the crap out of me this weekend. Please reassure me. Hopefully I did a little bit. Again, I don't feel completely comfortable. I think we got to, that's the part of sports. We got to show up and do it. And then Terrence says Clemson's about to get this work. So hopefully you're right. Boomer Guy also says we'll be okay versus Clemson. Andrew Braun, we'll beat Clemson by 20. Hope you guys are right with all that. Terrence says, I like our chances in the tourney this year. There's no dominant team this year. When we're playing our best, I don't think anyone can touch us. Carl says, I love Garrison's game now. This is a special team. We have everything we need to win. So many shooters, toughness, and confidence as well as experience. We could still use a little bit more inside play, and that's the thing when Garrison's on for sure, but it's not like he's scoring inside, and even Luke doesn't really score inside. But we can do it. We'll see. We'll see what the matchups are. Andrew Braun says we need someone to be ready to back up Brooks. Bryson Webster says, I agree. I'm afraid y'all are jinxing us. Can't get too cocky now. Yeah, we got to stay humble here. Did I just lose my place? Let's see. There's more talk about. Well, here Terrence says Bryson Willer. No jinx. I just think we have a great run. Just depending, stay healthy and play D. Let's see here. I just wish Bimmer Guy says I wish we had Kenny shooting back. I know he's in a big slump all season. We haven't needed really. He has stepped up in other ways, I guess. Tar Heel Nation, another regular commenter, says, and our defense is way better. It has gotten better. I don't know about way better, but that's the thing we got to focus on, I think, the most. Then Andrew Braun says, expectations for college freshmen is unbelievable. We are built for wins in March. Great mix of young guns and older leadership, play D and run the floor, and that will make up for poor shooting nights. Yeah, and obviously that's the thing about Roy. He's always said he doesn't want a whole team of one and dones. It's, we'll get a couple of special guys in, but then always have those veteran guys there to be right there with them. And that's the thing, when Kentucky won it with their freshmen, they've said this over and over again. They had veteran guys. When Duke won it with, Okafor and the first Jones and Justice Winslow, like they had, the Quinn Cooks and the older guys as well. So it's like, I don't know why, obviously they don't try to do that, but to depend on the one and dones. I was talking with somebody about this last night, even like next year, Duke's class is nowhere close to the class they have this year. So all these guys leave and like, they're going to be good guys coming in. They're going to be good, but there's going to be such a drop off. And it's like, when has North Carolina had that drop off? We never really have. Even when we won the national championships, we've come back and been good, minus the 10 team. We went to the NIT, but we've really been very, and it's Roy, and we were even saying it this year, like, oh, we're getting close to March and we're starting to hit our stride and hit our peak, and we have to appreciate him while he's here, I guess is what I'm trying to say here, and not get ahead of ourselves. But I want to thank you guys, the guys that are here live in chat, everybody that listens and supports the podcast. I appreciate you guys. I don't know what I'd do without you guys. This is definitely an outlet for me talking college basketball and North Carolina basketball. And if you're not connected with me on social media, I'd love to do that and talk anytime with them. Almost always available. I don't always get right back, but one last comment here. Andrew Braun says, I think what UNC is doing with recruiting and mixing young and old guys is perfect. Maybe not as sexy in this era, but still great. And obviously it could change here. Duke's whole recruiting philosophy could change as the NBA is proposing to get rid of the one and dones, and all those guys are going to be gone. And you get one and done guys, and it's going to be the next tier, and they're definitely not going to be as good as the juniors and seniors in college. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we're in good hands here with Roy. I think that's all I got. We've definitely gone long enough here, but I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Until then, go Heels.